First saw it in the theaters, I have to admit that I actually fell asleep on it. So like,
Oh, likewise.
maybe I was tired, but I definitely wasn't sure how to like. It bored you. You was out.
I'm pretty sure if I would have heard some sound effects or explosions or anything like that, I would have been more alert.
Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, people of all ages, welcome back to the Sticky Floors podcast. I am one of your hosts, CJ. I am joined by Mr. Will. Mr. Will, I got a question for you as soon as we get started here. Listeners, Happy New Year, man. Happy New Year to all the listeners. If this is your first time with us, listen, we talk about films that are in the theaters. We talk about films that haven't been in the theaters for a long time. We talk about things that are on streaming. Listen, we have fun with it, as you know, as you can guess from that little intro and conversation. Our last episode was actually sort of a Sticky Floors tradition, but not our usual show. We did our rundown of the best things that we saw in 2025. So check that out if you want to know kind of what you should have saw last year that you didn't, but you should have, and we try to tell you because we love saying "I told you so." And tonight, we are talking about The Killer, of my main man Michael Fassbender, directed by the great David Fincher.
Great director.
Kicking it over to my man Mr. Will to give us the breakdown.
Yeah, man. Definitely an underrated film, I would say. The Killer follows a meticulous, unnamed assassin who lives by a rigid personal code, narrated through his detached inner monologue as he prepares for a high-profile hit in Paris. Michael Fassbender portrays the character as obsessively disciplined, calibrating every variable, from heart rate to diet to timing, you name it, to maintain absolute control over his environment. When the assassination goes awry, exposing his presence and shattering his sense of perception, the killer becomes the target rather than the hunter. Forced into motion, he abandons anonymity and begins a methodical journey to contain the damage, driven less by guilt than by professional survival. As he tracks down those responsible for retaliating against him and brutally attacking his girlfriend, the film moves across international locations, each encountering testing the limits of his philosophy. The killer's confrontations revealed the emptiness beneath his rules, as he claims detached is repeatedly undermined by anger, fear, and desire for control. David Fincher frames the violence with clinical restraint, emphasizing routine and process over spectacle while exposing the self-delusions that sustain the assassin's identity. By the end, the killer becomes less a revenge thriller and then a bleak character study about modern isolation, professionalism, and fragile lives people tell themselves to function.
There it is, yo. There it is. I missed hearing that, man. I missed hearing your breakdowns of all the movies, man. That summed it up perfectly. So this is like our wheelhouse right here, man. Because we do the assassin movies, man.
No question.
But I gotta say, I had an interesting experience with this because when I first saw it in the theaters, I have to admit that I actually fell asleep on it. So
likewise, man. Likewise.
So like the first time I saw it, I fell asleep like right after he didn't make the first kill, and then I kind of woke up in sporadic parts, but I didn't really wake up. So he got to Hodges in the law office. I missed
that's a good chunk of change,
a good section of the film, right? And unfortunately, on the back end, it kind of put it together for me. But I remember leaving the theater and not feeling like almost like I had to give the movie incomplete, like because I fell asleep on it. I didn't want to say like that's the movie's fault. Maybe I was tired, but I definitely wasn't sure how to rate it. You said you fell asleep too. Like, was it like it bored you? You was out at the Eyes Wide Shut party?
Nah, nah, man.
Is that what it was?
I remember
distinctly. You don't have to admit it if it is.
I remember distinctly that I was just super exhausted, and I only wanted to see it because The American had dropped roughly around the same time, and I was trying to see how it deviated. With George Clooney being, at that time, the epitome of the American actors, movie star, if you will. Yeah. And Michael Fassbender, the British English equivalent of it. I wanted to see, compare and contrast, like what the differences were. And I ended up falling asleep between both of them because, quite frankly, there wasn't much to it.
Yeah, it's very drags in the beginning. That's one of the things that I didn't like about it.
I was exhausted, but at the same token, I'm pretty sure if I would have heard some sound effects or explosions or anything like that, I would have been more alert. If the colors were more vibrant, it would have caught my attention. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of subdued darkness, and they uses that it's as if it's another character throughout the movie. But the pace was slow, as CJ mentioned. It appeared a little bit redundant. Like I said, I had seen The American. I've seen other
Hmm.
movies in a similar grain where you have this lone gunman, kind of like here we go again. What's the joint with Natalie Portman's first
The
movie,
Professional.
Professional?
The Professional.
And it
Yeah.
was kind of like that. Where it doesn't get you until later on when there is actual violence, something that grabs your attention, where there's a plot twist,
Yeah.
because there's not much as far as dialogue. There's not much as far as other characters. I mean, and if there is another character on screen, quite frankly, he kills them. So,
Yeah.
there's not that back and forth or whatever have you.
Yeah, I think, what The Professional is a great reference point because that's like, I remember before that there was like, remember back in the day, the Sylvester Stallone, Antonio
Oh
Banderas
yeah, the
assassins, like that
essence.
was kind of
Yeah,
like the first kind of thing, but
yeah.
The Professional felt a little different. What I
Hmm.
think really helps keep that interesting is the dynamics between the professional and the little girl. And then
Hmm.
plus Oldman is going, or Oldman is
Yeah, he goes
going
off.
nuts in
Yeah, he
that.
goes off in
And
that.
he's so interesting to watch that I think that's also what kind of pulls you there.
Yeah.
This is like my theory about Michael Fassbender, that you can always tell how he's gonna perform based on how he combs his hair. So if his hair is combed down, he's about to be real even keeled, right? And if it's wild like Magneto, he's gonna choke people out, right? That's what or
Yeah,
kind of what it
that's his
is.
tell.
That's his tell. It's like, if he start, especially when he do the joint where he combs it to
Yeah.
over it with the heart, the aggressive
Hmm.
part on the side, that's when you know. This movie, I'm glad though that when it came to streaming, I did really watch it all the way through,
Hmm. Hmm.
because I think even though it is very slow paced, it's intentionally like a psychological drama,
Yeah.
and Michael Fassbender, his tone, which is always the same:
Yeah, very
stick to
monotone.
the plan,
Yeah.
do not vary from your side. Yo, he could read like books online and make people
Hmm.
fall asleep with that
Hmm.
voice, right? But it's like that's kind of a part of the draw of the film. So I like that, and I like the contribution of just thinking about like what's the assassin thinking second to second in these situations.
That's funny you mentioned that too. The insight you gain from the inner thoughts and perspective that is provided throughout the movie gives you a very candid feel, as if you
Yeah,
are immersed in his world and you're trying to decipher for prosperity what's going on. Like, oh, he just happens to have 6 storage units, and why would he have them in these
right,
different locations? Oh,
right.
he switches up his ID every time he goes to a Hertz or he goes to any other rental place. He rents vehicles knowing that there's going to be cameras and background checks.
Yep,
Oh, he has a series of license plates for every state, and a Glock and some change, some pocket money, and a passport in every single location. And he has files. It's just like, wow,
yeah,
to be an assassin, you really have to know your homework. You have to be intelligent. It's just not point and shoot.
right.
You actually have to have some thought in this. That really enlightened me. I think the other thing that was key about this movie too, that like really did it for me was, wait, he's not totally detached. It's not just, hey, when's my
Hmm.
next target or whatever, however. And I live in a studio apartment. No, this guy's got a villa and he's chilling. He's got a lady and the family knows him. He ingratiated himself to them, and therefore they feel indebted to
Yeah,
him as if he's a son-in-law, even though he's not married. It's just fascinating to me. Like, it's almost like the drug dealers that do drugs or drink and stuff. You know what I mean? Or you know,
you
the
find out more about the character by their attachments.
yeah,
Yeah,
and especially if you're in a business where the best way to get at you, if they can't get to you like straightforward, is through somebody else. So they exerted control. They applied pressure to a pressure point.
yeah,
What did
yeah.
you think was going to happen?
Right. And that's kind of like where the tension for the rest of the film
Yeah.
happens. But like there's also this thing that because Michael Fassbender's character, who you never really have a name beyond the killer,
Another key point.
because he doesn't talk as much, it really makes the rest of the actors in scenes with him have to like fill in some of the details. So like you mentioned his girlfriend, like
Yeah.
Magdala. Like Magdala has to talk about how she feels, how strong she was, and how she didn't tell
Yeah.
them anything, or like,
Loyalty, boy.
right, or like
Woo.
Hodges has got to kind of give you some backstory in
Yeah.
the exposition of when he's talking, because Fassbender's character doesn't say anything, and then obviously Tilda Swinton's character, the quote unquote expert, she's the one that talks the most and kind of explains more of like the resignations that people in that business feel. And then the brute, which is probably my favorite part in the whole thing,
Wow,
is
that
just like,
action fight scene was dope, man.
yeah, I love that part, right? But it's like you have to give credit to the other actors surrounding the film, because they have the burden of really being in conversation with a character played by Fassbender who doesn't talk at all.
And that's the other thing too. In Tilda Swinton's part when they're in the fancy restaurant
Yeah, I
stuff.
love that.
First of all, one, if I ever get bread like that, I would love to be able to corner off one section of a restaurant and they just serve you whatever. Like obviously I have some dietary restrictions, but like for them to just be like, yo, this is the chef's special, whatever. And the chef himself comes out and is talking to you. Whatever.
Yeah.
Dope. I want that. But with respect
that
to
doesn't happen at the Eyes Wide Shut parties when you go.
Well, with respect to the movie itself, I think that like her being able to like really talk and give a convincing performance as if she's nervous about her pending demise, yet using it as a strategy in order to perhaps she can get the drop on him, as revealed when she gets dropped with the knife in her hand.
Yeah.
Man, that's two talented actors really pushing each other, and the volleying without saying so many words on one person's part.
Yeah.
Dope.
Yeah, it's got some great scenes in it, and it's also I think like when you think about some of the movies that we've covered in the past, whether it was like The Killer's Game or Nobody 2, like they are intentionally both violent and also like a lot of action. And this is like decidedly made to be different. So really, I remember, I think one of the things I thought in the beginning was I thought I was going to go and watch something that was like those.
Oh.
And then like, cause I think what I just saw was Fincher and Fassbender, Killer, boom, I'm in, right? I didn't need like a whole bunch of information. So I had to reset my expectations. But as I've watched this, I've probably watched this movie like 3 or 4 times, or I've watched parts of this movie probably 10 or 11 times. But the 3 or 4 times I watch it, I can appreciate what it's trying to do, in that it's not the traditional sort of action assassin film.
That's tough right there, because when I think of like movies that are like very fast paced and the premise is an assassin or whatever have you, I'm thinking of one, Ninja Assassin. 2,
yeah, that's a good one. Yep.
I'm thinking of maybe like The Terminator. I'm also gonna go with what's the joint? I was just about to say this. The Killer with Chow Yun Fat, where the first one.
Killers.
And and the reason why I say that is like the
Replacement Killers.
Yeah,
not the Replacement Killers. Yeah,
yeah, no, Replacement Killers too. Good add to that, but the Killer with Chow Yun Fat, the original one on the purple tape, where he's like, "Yo, you got you get 1.5 million."
Yeah. Shout outs to the purple tape. Yes.
So the reason why I say that is because I like the push it to the limit, adrenaline. Shoot 'em up, bang, bang, edge of your seat type of thing. And I'm thinking like, you're an assassin, you shoot the person, whatever, and then you got to try and get to your getaway or whatever have you. Yeah. But I've seen in other movies where the killer is more reserved, and he tries to blend in by not drawing so much attention, by not running or doing anything as that would be very overt. And seeing Michael Fassbender talk about being a German tourist and no one likes Germans, and he's wearing the bucket hat and he got the glasses on all the time. And the only time you really see him in plain view is when he's at airport due to TSA, whatever have you. But the thing that really contrasts that and got me like, oh, this is game time, is when he finally meets the guy who hired him, and then the subsequent and he's like, yo, we can let all this go away. And he's like, oh, you really don't know who I am. You didn't hire me. And the guy's thinking that he's here to rob him or whatever have you. And it's like, no, I'm showing you my face because I want you to know I'm the guy that's going to end you for this petty stuff that you did. And he's done this before. It was a recommendation from the guy. And come to find out, the what's his
The
name?
client at the end.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
client. Yeah,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Yo, that's not on me, man. I didn't do that." I was like, "Hey, bygones be bygones. Errors happen." And I was told to get the insurance plan.
Yeah, which he's lying about. But yeah,
Oh, of
yeah.
course.
Yeah, yeah, it's a, you know what, man, let's get into the cake, man. Let's get into this, man. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
What's your cake, man?
All right. So I don't have much that I want to highlight, but I definitely want to highlight the following. One, Michael Fassbender.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm an admirer of him, man. Because of his
Very good
style,
actor. Mm-hmm.
whether it be from obviously the X-Men flicks all the way to Assassin's Creed. I like the fact that he can be, that vicious, driven to the point of desperation
Mm-hmm.
and all out killing machine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like something about that switch where you can justify taking another life, which I don't condone.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that he can do it and rationalize it in his mind, like, hey, this was the only alternative. You guys did this. I'm just the instrument. What's the saying? You know, I'm not death or anything like that. I'm just here as an instrument I'm paraphrasing, obviously, to make the meeting arrangements between you and God. And so with that being said, he can turn that switch off where you think he's like some maniac, but at the same token, here's a guy that I wouldn't mind having a conversation with over, a cup of tea or something like that, so definitely shout out to him. I think he's underrated, to be honest with you. Second thing is just a few monologue. Reminds me of a
Love it.
comic book.
Yeah, I
You know what I
love it.
mean?
I love
And
that part
everyone
too.
knows who follows the show that I'm grossly enamored with comic books and such. And so like I could visualize the little air bubbles
The
above it.
thought bubbles.
Thought bubbles.
Yeah,
Yeah, you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
And
yeah.
and our storybook style in the meeting rooms and the pre-production, everything like that. I was really like geeking out over that. Number three, I think the movie avoids glamorizing the violence. Like you actually
It does.
see the
Yeah.
roughness and the wear and tear it takes on you. And it's not like, oh, 50 bullets got shot and I just happen to get hit in the shoulder and I'm going to
Yeah.
patch it up and I'm still.
Yeah.
I don't think people understand. If you've been shot, I don't care where it is, you're not walking nowhere. You're not doing nothing else after
Right.
that. No, you want to lay down and just go on timeout. You want to take pain meds. You want to get plenty of fluid. Like getting stitched up is not fun.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see him in the fight scenes and he's walking with a limp, he's breathing heavy, he's sweating, his clothes are torn, he's in disarray, he's scared of the dog. He has the wherewithal to be able to remember that there is a pit bull
Two of them.
that may be 75 pounds, but it will kill me.
Yeah.
He's dealing with the guy, with the brute. And shout out to Sala Baker for that, man. Like he really embodied that role of a testosterone, keratin taking, anabolic steroid taking dude, man. Like
Yeah.
he really embodied that character. And then last but not least, I just like the ironic tone. It's very dark. And he talks about the philosophy that he adheres to, but ironically enough, he doesn't.
He breaks down. Yeah, he breaks
Yeah.
down. Yeah, the same things. I wanted to ask you, when you talking about Michael Fassbender, did you ever see the movie Shame with him, where he plays the guy with the nymphomaniac?
No, I haven't seen that.
It's a really interesting joint, man. It's a really interesting joint. I saw it in the theaters. This is the one time that I saw it.
Okay.
And of course, by the nature of the subject matter, it's very graphic, especially
Yeah, of
the
course.
sexual nature. But it's a real interesting thing, man. And
Now is it based upon, like, what's the premise? You know what I mean? Before I jump out and say, is it based upon?
it's just a story about a guy who's like, semi-successful guy who's also a nymphomaniac. And you kind of see like how his world unravels because of his just complete inability to not like pursue sex all the time. I'm really like just glossing it over by giving it that, but it's the first, I could be wrong that he was in the X-Men movies before that, but that was the first movie that I really remembered seeing him in. And I thought he was fantastic in it. Now that, I don't know if we ever do, that might be a Sticky Floors After Dark kind of movie to come, but he was really good in it. You talked about the inner monologue. I agree with you 1,000% on that. I like that it was like, I like the idea of the movie being broken down into chapters because it makes the parts that I want to watch really easy to watch. So like I love Florida Apartment or House, whatever. that's one of the best choreographed fight scenes that I've seen in a long time,
Yeah, man.
because it doesn't make him suddenly like this strong guy who's got
Hmm.
all of these fighting skills. He's really dogged for most of that fight, which is what would happen, right? And I like how they cut that. We talked about before was the part with him and Tilda Swinton at the table.
Hmm.
I love good dialogue, and
Yeah.
the dialogue that she has in the story. She talks about the bear and the hunter. Like,
Yeah.
it's just a great note and a great story. So, those are the things that I like about it. And I also, like the idea that the movie is one where you can come back to certain parts of it and watch them in isolation,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they act as like chapters, as opposed to like, it is a narrative that's going through the whole film, but you can just watch one part of it and be like, oh, okay, I know kind of what this little block of scene was like.
Yeah. Kind of like our
Yeah, right. They got timestamps, right? They timestamp the film. Right. Exactly. The brute, the lawyer, the brute, the
Hmm.
expert, the client, right? They break it down just like that. All right, what you got on your hate, man? The things you didn't like.
Man, you know me. I like to see the people have a nice happy end, etc. But
It gets a
this
happy ending.
no, this one feels cheap, man. I want him to body the dude.
Oh, the client, yeah,
Yeah,
I had that
like
too.
can't just,
Yeah,
how you
I
gonna
had
let
that
this
too.
guy just walk like that?
Yeah,
Like,
that seemed weird. That
and it
did. I
doesn't really
agree.
see. I don't. I'm not saying like I don't. Well, it's hard to articulate. So crudely saying, I would switch certain parts around. You know what I mean? Like the
Okay.
order in which the things had progressed. So I would have had the first scene of when he goes to the office in Louisiana, in New Orleans to
Mm-hmm.
meet you
Hodges.
know, Hodges, and move that to the ending. And then I would have moved the client joint up maybe right before that. Definitely would have killed the client. But then with the interaction with Hodges, I would have had that be a little bit more drawn out as to like getting to the heart of the matter, and then having it been
Oh,
revealed
okay. I
that,
see.
yeah, you know what, I offered this or whatever, or
I
however
see.
they want to phase it.
I
But
see.
if he's supposed to be loyal and he's supposed to be the guy that put him on, the professor, whatever, I somehow would have integrated that as well. I just, I don't know. I'm just seeming a little bit off to me.
No, I like
Um,
that. I like that. Yeah, I think because the whole purpose of that part is really for him to get the information
right.
on the brute and the expert. But
I get that.
yeah, but I like the idea of Hodge as being the real
Yeah, the
conclusion.
real
Yeah, because
puppet
he's like
master.
yeah. And they
And
all hate Hodges too.
yeah, and that's why I'm saying, like, he could have gotten the information by
I
maybe
like
he
that.
goes to that location, but Hodges is not there. The
Yeah.
secretary is there,
And
and he gets the
she
information.
could have told him the
And
whole thing.
then at the end, he goes back to the office or whatever have you, because old habits die hard. Whatever, however you want to slot. Maybe you have him somewhere else, but either
Yeah.
way, he gets Hodges.
Yeah.
Um, because if you're killing all these other people, why are you letting the client go?
Yeah.
Why?
Especially the
Why?
person now seeing your face, right?
Yeah,
You're on cameras and all those things. Yeah. And,
and I mean,
somebody with those kind of means, you'd have to think it's a possible
oh,
person might come for you one day.
And
Yeah.
and the thing that really shocked me was, all right, you're killing the taxi driver. And this dude he's begging you, man. Like
He's the most innocent
innocent.
person.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
you
Yeah,
kill him
very good
because he
point.
gave somebody a ride.
Very good
What are we
point.
talking about here?
Very
Um,
good point. Yeah, how about that?
and then I wasn't too much of a fond individual of him repeating his philosophy, and then because it's redundant, and I like to think that the audience is a little bit more educated to pick up on, all right, if he's saying this is for a reason, he's the primary voice, so you need to focus in on what he's saying. And then last but not least, just the secondary characters, as I alluded to, they just seem like prop pieces. I would have liked to have had more interaction to understand their backstory. How did he and the girlfriend meet? Maybe he has a flashback or a dream about her, and he's sorry for how things ended, with her getting caught in the way.
Yeah. Good points, man. I really like the thing you said about Hodges. That would have made a great
Yeah.
hot take.
Thanks, sir.
Mine are the same. I didn't like them leaving the client alive. And I really just have to say the first, there's no real action until
Right.
21 minutes into the film.
Yeah.
So the first 20 minutes, it's just kind of walking around, looking through the
Yeah.
window. That drags, you know what I mean? Like
It
that was,
does, but you know what? It's necessary to tell, like, hey, these things do go slow. It is a process. You just don't. Oh,
yeah,
client shows, like, the target shows up and in him out, and I roll up my
yeah,
piece, and no, it's not always like that. And the casualty of the sex worker, although unfortunate, hey, things go amiss.
Yeah, the dominatrix. Yeah.
Yeah,
It just wasn't my cup of tea.
I got
Like
you.
that's the part of when I watch this, I always skip past that first
Yeah,
20 minutes before I get into it.
no, I got you.
But there's some things that you said there that kind of get into some questions that I have, and I'm gonna just run into right through these. First, so you talked about Hodges, right?
Hmm.
After Hodges knows that the expert and the brute went after the girl and beat her up, why didn't he think the killer was gonna come for him?
I think that he thought, like he said, look, you have all this money. You could easily just cut your losses and bounce. Remember, I'm
Mhm.
the one with all the resources. I'm the one who's the facilitator. I'm the analyst, and I can get plenty of operatives to get out there and get after you. If you just take what you have and cut your losses and bounce, you could salvage the remaining portion. He
Mhm.
didn't think that he would go after the entire machine.
So it was arrogance. Did you think would it have been valuable to you to know how much money the killer actually has?
Oh no, I got an idea when he taken out of that bank when he was like
Closed out the bank account.
432,000. I knew that when he went to the various locations, just started pulling out random guns that he could just. I don't know about you,
And
but I can't afford to have $1 anywhere outside of my residence and be like, oh, I'll come back to it later. I know they call it a bank, but
nonetheless some guns.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? And an assortment, an array of guns.
Right.
So I got an idea like, oh, he's got 6 of these caches, and his house in, I guess that was the Dominican Republic,
Yeah.
was pretty
Very
nice
nice
like
house,
that.
right? Like you said, a villa.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, this dude, he's got some bread, and he's digging up his front lawn and pulling out little attaché cases and things like that. He's good.
Okay. All right. Here's my next question, which I think you kind of alluded to, but I want to ask it anyway. Does the lack of a backstory make the killer hard to relate to and as a result weaken the narrative of the film?
Yeah, I think it does. I think they could have been taken in another direction just to fill in a little bit more and have it be meaningful and not just fluff. I think that the movie, although although it's necessitated, I think that they could have maybe tweaked it a little bit to where there would have been a little bit more uh, uh, background information on all of the characters. Like, how did
Yeah.
they know each other, et cetera, or did they not, and why not? Why were they kept in this filing system the way it was? What assistant takes butchery home and put it in a home office around her
Yeah.
kids if she's really that worried about kids?
Yeah.
Just little things like that where maybe they could have talked about there was an infiltration or whatever have you, or don't have everything in one central location.
Yeah. It's almost like a crutch for me to say this, but sometimes I feel like this is a great candidate for a series.
Yeah.
Like
Oh
a
yeah. No,
like
this.
a prequel series kind of thing.
Yeah.
This would really work well for that.
Oh yeah. Great idea. Yeah. No, I second that wholeheartedly, man.
All right, here's my next joint, man. Based on everything that happens and the various mistakes the killer makes along the way, is it fair to say that he is not, quote, the best there is at what he does, end quote?
He is not
Which is a
Wolverine.
shout out to Wolverine. Yes.
Yeah, he's not Wolverine.
Shout out to Wolverine.
He's not even Frank Castle. See, I man, this is hard for me because one, I think you have to be aloof or you have to have a very flexible scale with regards to morality in order to enter this type of field.
No question.
Which means you got to be somewhat crazy. You know what I mean? Like your
Mhm.
philosophy has to be
No question.
somewhat
No question.
contrary of the norm. So you're going to do things that are perplexing at the very least and just outright like insanity.
Mhm.
So him doing the push-ups and stuff, all right, distraction, you're staying fit, whatever, cool. But yet, you're talking about the different types of protein and number of McDonald's and
Mhm.
no, that's not necessary, man. Like, you just get it wherever. You're probably former military anyway, so you're probably used to eating worms and cicadas or something like that. So anything else is a delicacy. Um,
But
I just think
is he good at his job though? Because like he
no,
misses.
but that's why I try to flesh him out in the way that I did because he has to be good in the
Okay.
sense that he is able to dispose of everything along a certain route. He has other back channels. He's prepared like Batman. He is able to maneuver very seamlessly into a crowd where, I mean, let's face it, he's about 6'1" to 6'2".
Mhm.
And those individuals tend to stand out because the average human being is about 5'7", 5'8". He doesn't have any distinguishing marks on him or anything like that. So when he
Yeah.
goes to the airport and they see the cut on him and the bruises, they're
Yeah,
like,
after he got that beating,
yeah, after
man.
he caught that,
Yeah, I felt
caught them hands. Yeah. So, I would think that he's still able to negotiate out of these faces, which you got to give him credit. He's good there.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Last question. What, if any, lesson does the killer learn during the course of the movie?
He doesn't learn any lessons.
None. What, if any? So he's saying, yeah, okay.
And the reason why I say that is he went to New York, all cameras all the time, one of the most heavily camera areas on the planet. He goes there, though, showing his face, buying a gun off of somebody he doesn't even know. Dude offers him, how do you not know that's an undercover or whatever? Or that he's not going to give you up later on. Goes into the exercise joint, bumps into the janitor. Like, that's cliche.
Yeah.
And then the janitor
kind of fails to take the thing off the, He has some interesting mishaps during the course of the joint.
I mean, from there, even when he goes to the bank, if you're withdrawing that amount of money, you don't think somebody's going to get suspicious? The bank doesn't want to give up that money. They want to collect interest off of your money and then give you a little crumb or two over it. So that's not going to draw flags. There's a reason why you can't carry $10,000 when you're on an airport, or why you have to, when you're making a deposit or withdrawal, it gets flagged. But even if you pay taxes on it. So like, that's not going to draw attention. I don't care how many corporate shells you have, dummy corporations.
Do you think, I know it's not a question that I gave you in advance, but do you think he is done being an assassin?
No.
At the end of this film?
No. And the reason being is he's obsessed.
I don't think so either. Yeah.
He has an obsessive compulsion to do these things.
Absolutely.
I think he likes killing people.
Yeah.
I think
he likes the process.
And I think he likes, that's exactly what I was going to say. I think he likes killing people, and I think he likes the process. Yeah. I think he looks at it as like a hobby, you know, like, oh, I'm taking the car out for a Sunday drive. Like, oh, I'm going to go pop this dude in his skull. And he has and they make it a point.
Party.
Dude, he has a way of having a niche where they said, oh, he can do it in a way that makes it look like an accident.
Yeah.
I mean, he even tells you, hey, a little bit of touch of nuclear waste and it's a wrap for you. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want me to come back. These are the ways, just some of the ways I could kill. So when you hear 6 million ways to die, choose one. No, you would see his picture in the dictionary.
Yeah, he knows how to do it. Yeah. And that's also one of the things, I didn't mention this earlier, but his unassuming nature is one of the things that I like about the character, you know? So so shout outs to Michael Fassbender for that too. What you got for me on questions, man?
Yeah, man. First one, in what ways does the film challenge the myth of the perfectly controlled, emotionally detached professional assassin?
Yeah, it kind of goes to a lot of things that you were just saying. I mean, he makes the mistakes that he makes. His inner monologue tells you that he made a mistake. So when he misses the first shot, he's like, he says the S word. Like, he knows he messed up, just like right? Or even when the dog kind of wakes up early, he's you can see he hears the dog coming. He's like, oh no,
I didn't time that right. I didn't give him enough sedative.
The monologue makes it seem like he's this very controlled, methodical, and he is methodical character. But the other thing is that like, there's these things that happen where mistakes happen. He's actually very flexible. And he is actually really good at recovering from a situation when it goes kind of off. Like even like Tilda Swinton's character says, like, he could have just shot her in the car. There's so many ways he could have killed her, but instead he comes in, he sits down, people see him. And just like she's saying, I could scream, you probably killed me, you might get out, but you wouldn't get out knowing who you are and your face. So it's kind of an interesting thing where what he's saying and thinking is not necessarily matching up with what he's doing, but it's people.
Yeah. No, definitely, man. All right. Question number 2. What does the film suggest about modern work culture and professionalism through the killer's emphasis on efficiency, discipline, and optimization?
Well, the first thing is that everybody wants to kill their boss. That's the first thing that's the first takeaway, because even when he was talking to the expert, she was like, just please tell me Hodges did too. Like, everybody, like, damn, what does Hodges do? Like,
he's not a nice guy.
Isn't he an employer? Like,
offer 401k, offer health insurance.
He's an employer. He's an employer with a diversity initiative. He hires men and women and people with different racist.
And
Gosh, dog,
diverse.
they all
Yeah.
want this dude dead, man. So that's one thing. The businessy sort of nature of it, the idea that they have all the addresses and everything on little cards and like
Hmm.
and like one of those things you hold
A
business
Rolodex
cards,
joint's
yeah,
crazy.
Rolodex from like 1986, or like the idea that Hodges has got his info on laptops. That part of it is it feels it's a very transactional film
Yeah.
and is designed to be that way. And I think it is like a metaphor for the idea of the modern work world, the modern business
Mm-hmm.
traveler who's just or consultant really, who's just going from place to place to place. Do this job, you're done. Do this job, you're done, kind of thing. And the impersonal nature of it, which is kind of like becomes very personal once his girlfriend is hurt.
How does David Fincher's restrained visual style reinforce the film's themes of control, isolation, and emotional detachment?
Yeah, it's a very quiet film. There's no score.
Mm.
Even the only time you kind of hear a score is when he's fighting the brute, and it's almost like this weird sort of crunching sound.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
just put like some M&Ms in a bag and just crunched them up. Like that's what it sounds like, right? So there's no score. It's not his personality is one that he's intentionally just not trying to blend, not trying to stand out. So he's
Hmm.
constantly in all black, all gray, all
Hmm.
brown, right? So all beige. And then you don't really get a lot of action. And then it's not like a James Bond film where, the final battle is in this room with
Yeah, yeah.
electrolytes and everything. It's not like that. So it's intentionally designed to make you really like focus in on his inner dialogue and what the other characters are doing and saying.
No, I agree with that, man.
And
Oh.
I think that's what Fincher wanted. Like
Mm.
we've covered movies before. He did Seven. Like we
Hmm.
know the kind of films that he
Yeah,
can
similar
do.
style pattern.
The
Yeah.
scale, yeah, but he makes films where it's like it is muted. It is
Hmm.
like very you don't have to worry about paying a lot of attention to what's in the background
Right.
because everything you need to see is right in front of
Yeah. No, definitely. How does the film's use of repetition and routine build tension rather than traditional action or spectacle?
you. Yeah, well, constant repetition of thought is like something that over the course of the film can wear on you as a listener, right? So it makes you fatigued watching it, which kind of brings to light the fatigue that he must feel
Mm.
having to do this constant mental exercise to detach himself from the reality of like, I'm about to try to kill a human being, right?
Right.
So he's got to like all his mental stuff is like him saying, this is what I have to do in order to get through this day and this situation. And you're going to be along with me for this ride. You feel like you're in his head the whole film. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And when he's not, the interesting thing is also when he's talking to someone, you no longer hear him thinking.
Mm.
So it's not like he's critiquing what they're
Right, right.
saying. He's quiet, which is the first time for you as an audience. You're like, oh, I get to
Oh.
just be quiet and listen to what she's saying or he's
Hmm.
saying too.
Um, does the film ultimately portray the killer as a product of a broader system, i.e., capitalism, violence, or globalization, or as an entirely autonomous moral agent?
I think he probably thinks he's an autonomous moral agent because he has the ability to hurt the people that hurt someone that he cares about.
Hmm.
But he's also a part of a larger system of assassins who are
Wow.
ran by businessmen who pretend to be
Yeah.
lawyers
Hmm.
in,
Hmm.
Louisiana, which like he says, 1,000 restaurants, one menu, like just that world that he operates in.
Yeah.
He's not maybe he buys his freedom, his exit from the matrix at the end because he's no longer doing it. But like you and I said before, I think he's probably going to go back into it.
Oh, easily.
There's another Hodges somewhere. There's somebody, it's probably, 100 Hodges and,
Yeah.
in the world. So he'll find somebody else and he'll be a part of that system because even killing people is a business.
Yeah, this is true.
So there it is. There it is. What you got on the popcorn ratings, man, for this one?
I'm going with 3.5, man. Like I outlined before, there's a lot of key interactions that I really liked. We talked about them. I liked Michael Fassbender, the
Mhm.
director. So, yeah, I'm going with a solid 3.5. What about
Yeah,
you?
I'm gonna give it 3.5 too, man. I was on the fence between 3.5. I think watching it and then talking about it helps me to bring it up a little bit. It's a good watch. It's definitely a movie worth watching, worth seeing, and I think it's different from a lot of assassin movies in such a way that it's like a palate cleanse, breath of fresh air kind of thing. So, if you want to get that, it's a good thing to see.
All right.
What
Hot
you got on?
takes.
Yeah, what you got in hot? Do you want me to go first? You want me to go first? What you want to
Oh,
do?
I got this.
Okay.
So I think that the film's coldness is probably and arguably its greatest strength.
Okay.
It's a barrier for maybe the mainstream appeal, and hence
Yes.
it was reflective in the numbers in the box office. But for those that are able to stream it like you are now, 3 years later, you can take your time and enjoy whatever it is you want to do. Maybe throw up the blinds, though, not watch this at night so you don't get lethargic. But as long as you have others around there to entertain you, you'll pretty find that this is a pretty good movie. But yet be mindful that, it is very cold, direct, blunt, and it uses the shadows and the darkness. What you got, CJ?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the box office, man. I'm just checking it out on the internet, man. They're saying this joint made like $452,000. So that's not great at all there.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Um,
not as far as the studios are concerned.
right, absolutely. So yeah, my hot take on this is that this is a movie where the parts are better than the whole. Like I
Mm,
think, like just like how you said, you can kind of move scenes around in the movie to make it work a little bit better.
yeah.
I actually, when I always watch the fight scene with him in
Mm,
Florida. I love that. I mentioned that before. I always like the dialogue between him and Tilda Swinton's character, and then I like the part with him and Hodges because it's kind of a
yeah.
little bit of a comedic death part to that, which is a
Right.
little bit like kind of interesting. But in general, it's not necessarily a let me watch from beginning all the way to end every time I see
Mm,
it, but the chapter part allows you to see it that way. So I think the longevity of this film is that on streaming, you can always go right to the part that you really want to see. And
correct.
it's very truncated where the story ends with the death of that particular person that he's going
Mm,
against. So yeah, that's what I think on that. So that's what it is, man. That's our breakdown of The Killer. The Killer, if you want to watch it, it's on Netflix.
yep.
So
Yep.
it's on Netflix. It's been on Netflix for a while now. I think at some points it's even been on their top 10 list, probably
Yeah.
depending on what Michael Fassbender is doing professionally at that time. Next week, we will be back with another Netflix movie, Don't Look Up. A really, really interesting movie,
Yeah.
especially for these days and times that we're in right now, where any number of things can mean the end of civilization. The meteor is probably the one thing that we're
Yeah.
not looking, but that's what we'll be back with next week. Once again, the Sticky Floors podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts. We are on Apple Podcasts, we're on Spotify Podcasts, we're on YouTube, but we want you to like, subscribe, and share. That way you will get our drops as they come out. If you want to continue the conversation with us, we're on Threads, we're on X, we're also on Facebook, and we will see you next week. Peace.